I freeze mid-step when Jessica's voice slices through the elegant hum of conversation. My twin sister stands in the center of her marble-floored dining room, surrounded by her country club friends in their pearls and cashmere sweaters. "Logan?" Jessica laughs, swirling her wine. "He looks like he belongs in a biker gang, not in our family. Those tattoos? That motorcycle?" She lowers her voice to a stage whisper. "Dad nearly had a heart attack when Maya brought him to Sunday dinner." The champagne flute slips from my fingers before I can process what's happening. It crashes against the floor, shattering into a constellation of glass shards. The room falls silent. Every head turns toward me, standing in the doorway between Jessica's kitchen and dining room. Jessica's face drains of color when she spots me. For a moment, genuine panic flashes in her eyes, the same hazel as mine, before she composes herself. She smooths the front of her crimson designer dress, diamond earrings catching the light as she tilts her head. "Maya, I didn't see you there." Her voice is bright, brittle. "We were just talking about—" "I heard exactly what you were talking about." My voice sounds foreign to my own ears, too steady, too calm for the hurricane building inside me. Mark, Jessica's husband, steps forward with a practiced smile. This is his celebration after all partnership at Wilson & Reed, the most prestigious law firm in the city. I shouldn't be making a scene. But the realization that crashes over me is worse than any social faux pas. Jessica has been mocking my relationship behind my back for months. I glance down at my simple sundress, suddenly aware of how different I look from everyone else here. My fingers find the leather bracelet Logan made for me, the small metal charm cool against my skin. I think about last month's family dinner. Dad beaming at Jessica over his reading glasses when she mentioned coordinating the firm's charity auction. "That's the kind of initiative that gets noticed," he'd said, nodding approvingly. Not 15 minutes earlier, he'd barely acknowledged the news that my photography series on homeless veterans had won a regional award. "If only you'd apply yourself like Jessica," Mom had whispered later, handing me dishes to dry. "You wouldn't need to settle for creative pursuits." I remember the day I met Logan, standing outside that little music shop in Brooklyn, camera in hand, capturing the peeling paint around the vintage sign. He'd stopped, not to flirt, but to ask thoughtful questions about my composition. The way he looked at my portfolio later that week with genuine interest and respect made me feel truly seen for the first time in years. The kitchen is mercifully empty when Jessica follows me in, the door swinging shut behind her. "Is that how you really see Logan?" I ask, turning to face her. "Is that how you see me?" Jessica rolls her eyes, reaching past me for the wine bottle on the counter. "Oh, Maya, you know I'm just having a little fun." She refills her glass, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. "But seriously, what future could you possibly have with a man like that?" Something shifts inside me, a tectonic plate finding its proper place. My hands stop trembling as I twist the small engagement ring from my finger and place it deliberately on the granite countertop. "The future I choose," I say quietly. "Not the one you think I should have." I leave without saying goodbye to anyone. My phone rings before I reach the subway. Dad's name flashes on the screen. Jessica works fast. "What do you think you're doing?" Dad's voice thunders through the speaker. "Jessica is in tears. You embarrassed her in front of Mark's colleagues." I grip the handrail on the subway stairs, commuters streaming past me. "She was mocking Logan, Dad. Mocking me." "That boy has filled your head with nonsense," Mom chimes in. They're on speakerphone. "This isn't like you, Maya." Dad clears his throat. "I've been patient with this phase of yours, but this is unacceptable. Either end this ridiculous relationship with that welder, or don't bother coming home." The ultimatum hangs between us. In the background, I hear Jessica's theatrical sniffling. "Maya?" Dad prompts. "I'm waiting for your answer." I watch the headlights of the approaching train illuminate the darkness of the tunnel. "So am I, Dad," I whisper. "So am I." Next day, I stumble upon the email by accident. Professor Hargrove has his inbox open on the classroom computer when I approach him after our photography seminar. His screen displays a message from my twin sister, the subject line catching my eye before I can look away. "Regarding Maya Parker, ongoing concerns." "Is there something you needed, Maya?" Professor Hargrove asks, quickly minimizing his screen. "I just wanted to ask about the gallery opening next week." I say, my voice suddenly hollow. When he steps away to grab his calendar, I lean forward just enough to see the preview text in his taskbar. "Emotionally unstable and requires special consideration." As her sister, I'm concerned that My stomach lurches as if I've missed a step on a staircase. Maya? Professor Hargrove returns, finding me white-knuckled against his desk. I'm sorry, I don't feel well, I mumble, grabbing my bag and fleeing. Outside, the October sun feels too bright. The stone steps of the university library catch me when my legs give out. I press my palms against the cool granite, trying to steady the world that's suddenly spinning beneath me. Jessica, my own twin, sabotaging me. With trembling fingers, I pull up my student email account. Something tells me to search for Jessica's name in the faculty directory. 3 clicks later, I discover she's contacted not just Professor Hargrove but 4 other instructors, including my academic advisor. My phone buzzes with a text from Logan. Meeting with Frank ran long. On my way. Everything okay? Before I can respond, another email appears in my inbox, a message accidentally forwarded to me by Professor Bennett, containing a thread between my father and the dean of students. I read phrases that burn into my vision. Phase with this unsuitable young man. Cry for help. Concerned about her stability. And finally, the knockout punch. My colleague Dr. Weber has agreed to evaluate her condition. They want me declared mentally unfit. Because I love someone they don't approve of. Because I'm pursuing photography alongside my business degree. Because I'm not Jessica. Later that day, the familiar oak dining table stretches between us like a battlefield. My parents sit side by side, my father's reading glasses perched on his nose, though there's nothing to read. My mother's fingers worry at her pearl necklace. Jessica stands behind them, one manicured hand resting on Dad's shoulder in a perfect tableau of family unity. I stand alone. Maya, we're only concerned about your well-being. Mom says, her voice gentle but her eyes hard. Then why am I finding out you've been discussing my condition with Dad's psychiatrist friend? The words scrape my throat raw. Jessica sighs dramatically. I had to tell them you've been skipping your business classes to audit photography courses, Maya. Your behavior has become erratic. Erratic? The word tastes bitter. Because I'm pursuing something I love? Dad removes his glasses, polishing them with deliberate care. You're throwing away opportunities others would kill for. Columbia connections are what secure your future. And what will people think? Mom adds, her voice rising slightly. The daughter of a distinguished professor, waiting tables and running around with a... The front door opens, and Mark appears, Jessica's husband looking freshly pressed in his tailored suit. He assesses the situation with a lawyer's precision before sliding next to Jessica. Logan isn't exactly the kind of connection that will help your future, Maya. He offers with practiced sympathy. Jessica nods eagerly. That's why we've spoken to Dean Williams about transferring your scholarship to a more structured program. You did what? The room blurs around the edges as fury and disbelief collide in my chest. Dad slides a folder across the table. It's a business-focused curriculum. More practical. You'd live at home, of course. Of course, I repeat numbly, not touching the folder. Your apartment allowance ends next month if you continue seeing this Logan person, Mom says, her voice gentle as if she's offering comfort instead of an ultimatum. Dad clears his throat, and will need to reconsider your position in the family trust. Jessica leans forward, her diamond earrings catching the light. This isn't personal, Maya. My professional reputation could be affected by your rebellion. I swallow hard, mentally calculating the numbers. $342 in my personal savings account. 2 part-time jobs that barely cover groceries. 6 months until graduation. Maya, darling, Mom says with forced brightness, why don't you look over the transfer paperwork tonight? Sleep on it. Columbia connections are the only reason you'll ever get a respectable job, Dad adds, tapping the folder with one finger. Let's not throw that away on a phase. I stare at the folder, feeling my entire future compressed into those few sheets of paper. Everything they want for me. Everything I never wanted for myself. A text vibrates in my pocket. Outside when you're ready. L. I look up to find 4 pairs of eyes watching me expectantly, waiting for my surrender. The weight of family expectations presses down on my shoulders, a familiar burden I've carried all my life. But outside waits Logan in his truck, somehow anticipating I might need an escape tonight. I stand in the doorway, one foot in my childhood home and one toward Logan, wondering if cutting ties completely is my only option. Would walking away from everything familiar bring the freedom I craved, or just different constraints? What would you do when the people who should support you the most become the ones holding you back? The folder remains untouched on the table as I step backward toward the door. 2 days later, at the university, I heard she had some kind of breakdown after that dinner party. Poor thing just couldn't handle the pressure of real life. Jessica's voice floats across the Columbia University courtyard as I freeze behind a stone column. A cluster of students from my photography seminar nod sympathetically. Such a shame about her rebound relationship, too. Jessica continues, adjusting her cashmere scarf against the autumn chill. The guy's basically a nobody. Our parents are beside themselves. My former friends glance at each other, discomfort plain on their faces. Nobody contradicts her. By afternoon, my phone remains silent. The study group I've been part of for 3 semesters suddenly forgot to include me. When my academic advisor suggests a leave of absence, given recent concerns about your focus, I know exactly whose influence is at work. Dad's department shares a floor with hers. Dr. Parker mentioned you might be going through a difficult time, she says, not quite meeting my eyes. I clench my teeth. How thoughtful of him. The next morning, Mom appears at my apartment door unannounced, tote bag bulging with glossy brochures. Darling, I've been researching some wonderful wellness retreats. She pushes past me into the small living room. This one in Vermont has an excellent program for young women experiencing transitions. I notice the wedding magazine tucked between the retreat pamphlets. Jessica planning the big day already? Oh yes, she's reserved the Westchester Country Club for next June. Mom smooths invisible wrinkles from her slacks. The guest list is quite exclusive. I don't need to ask if I'm on it. The apartment feels impossibly empty after she leaves. Empty and temporary. 3 days later, the university housing office emails to confirm my housing allowance has been canceled, effective immediately. Logan helps me carry the last box of belongings to his Jersey City apartment as November rain soaks through our jackets. The building's elevator is broken again. By the 6th floor landing, my legs burn with each step. Almost there, Logan says, shifting the weight of my photography equipment to his other shoulder. His 1-bedroom apartment feels smaller with my things crammed inside. The bathroom sink drips all night. The window in the bedroom doesn't close completely, but it's ours. I stare at my class schedule and the 2 part-time jobs I've managed to secure: morning shifts at the cafe near campus and weekend hours at a camera shop in Manhattan. 4 hours of sleep a night might be enough if I study between customers. We'll make it work, Logan says, wrapping his arms around me from behind. But 3 weeks later, Logan comes home limping, face gray with pain. Steel beam shifted, he explains, easing onto the couch. Just a sprain, but the foreman sent me home for the week. The electricity bill sits unpaid on the counter. My student loan payment is overdue. That night, I offer to pick up extra shifts at the cafe, but Logan shakes his head. I called Frank about those underwater welding jobs. They pay triple, and he thinks I can get some weekend work. But that's dangerous, and you're already hurt. It's temporary. His voice is firm. We just need to get through until spring. Later that night, I slip into the bathroom and press my forehead against the cool mirror as my chest tightens. The familiar panic claws up my throat as I think about Sunday dinner at my parents' house. Jessica will be there with Mark, showing off her enormous diamond. Mom will make pointed comments about my appearance. Dad will ignore me until he can deliver some cutting remark disguised as concern. I slide down to the floor, counting my breaths the way the university counselor taught me before my parents canceled that too. On an especially bitter December evening, we returned to find the electricity shut off. Logan's paycheck was delayed, and my tips barely covered groceries. Perfect, I laugh hollowly, fumbling for my phone flashlight. Logan disappears into the bedroom, returning with a handful of emergency candles and his sketchbook. Draw me like one of your French girls, he jokes, striking a ridiculous pose in the flickering light. Despite everything, I laugh. We take turns sketching each other. The results so terrible we're soon doubled over, tears streaming down our faces. This, Logan whispers, holding up his lopsided rendering of my profile, is worth everything. Jessica's engagement party arrives with the first snowfall of winter. The invitation addressed only to me feels less like an olive branch and more like a summons. Logan drops me at my parents' Westchester home, promising to return at exactly 9. Mother intercepts me in the foyer before I can join the other guests. You look tired, dear, she says, eyeing my simple black dress, the only formal outfit I kept. Perhaps if you'd reconsider your situation, you wouldn't have to work those dreadful jobs. The old Maya would have hunched her shoulders and looked away. The new Maya meets her mother's gaze directly. My situation has a name, Mom. Logan. And he works harder than anyone I've ever met. Dad materializes beside her, bourbon in hand. You're being unnecessarily difficult, Maya. Do you realize you're embarrassing the family? The Hendersons just asked me why you're working at that coffee shop. The dining room glitters with crystal and silver. Place cards in Jessica's perfect calligraphy mark each seat at the family table. I spot mine between my parents, directly across from Jessica and Mark. With steady hands, I pluck my name card from its position. The room quiets as I walk to a table of Jessica's college friends, strangers to me, and place my card at an empty seat. Maya, Mother hisses. What are you doing? I turn to face my family, aware of the watching crowd. I'd rather sit with people I don't know than pretend we're a loving family when all you care about is appearances. The next week brings unexpected brightness. Frank, Logan's weathered mentor, appears at our door with paperwork for an underwater welding certification program. They need young blood with steady hands, he says gruffly. Training starts next month. Company covers the costs. 2 days later, Mrs. Bennett, my photography professor, calls with news of a paid internship documenting the city's historic architecture. Your portfolio was exceptional, she says. This pays better than that cafe and its actual experience in your field. I think about the countless portfolio reviews where Dad checked his watch impatiently and Mom suggested more conventional subjects. Then I recall how Frank praised Logan's meticulous welds, how Mrs. Bennett spent an hour discussing composition with me after class. Something shifts in my spine. At our next unavoidable family gathering, I stand taller. When Dad makes a dismissive comment about hobby photographers, I don't look away. Actually, I say, meeting his eyes for the first time in months, I've been commissioned to document the Brooklyn Historical Society renovations. Logan and I spend a snowy evening mapping out our future at the scratched kitchen table. Certification, savings, eventually, our own business. Frank mentioned something today. Logan says, hesitation in his voice. There's an opening on an offshore rig, specialized underwater welding. It pays triple what I make now. I'm calculating what that could mean for us when my phone vibrates. Jessica's name flashes on the screen. I almost ignore it, but something instinct perhaps makes me answer. Her voice comes through choked with tears. Maya, Dad's in trouble. A student accused him of harassment, and the university is investigating. They're saying there might be others. The family's in crisis. We need you. I stare at Logan across our 5-year plan, scribbled on the back of an unpaid bill notice. Maya, Jessica sobs. Are you there? I say I will help in all the ways I can, but I need to protect what's mine as well. And in a year I will be even stronger. The morning light filters through the blinds we salvaged from a yard sale last winter. I trace my finger along the edge of our kitchen table, a solid oak piece. Logan refinished himself and smile at the stack of papers before me. 1 year of strategic planning, countless late nights, and a determination that surprised even me has led to this moment. You're going to wear a hole in that paper if you keep staring at it, Logan says, sliding a mug of coffee next to my hand. His certification papers from the Advanced Underwater Welding Institute sit beside my business degree with photography minor, $210,000. I whisper, tapping the employment contract. Did you ever think that I'd be worth that much to coastal engineering? Logan laughs, the sound warming the small kitchen of our apartment. Honestly, number. But you did. I did. After Logan completed his certification, I researched every major engineering firm on the eastern seaboard, tracking their contracts, expansion plans, and hiring patterns. When Coastal posted the specialist position, I spent 3 nights crafting his application package. Operations Coordinator Parker, Logan says, brushing his lips against my temple, has a nice ring to it. The negotiation for my position had been calculated timing right after they'd offered Logan the specialist role, but before he formally accepted. We're a package deal. I'd told the HR director, my business portfolio outlining exactly how I'd streamline their contractor management systems while finishing my final semester. Our savings account statement sits beneath our employment contracts, 6 months of disciplined budgeting, research on property values in Newark suburbs, and endless spreadsheets comparing mortgage rates. The realtor called, Logan says, sliding his phone toward me. Our offer was accepted. I scan the message, my heart racing. Our modest 2-bedroom townhouse in that quiet neighborhood with mature trees. Ours. The substantial down payment, nearly 40%, means our monthly payments will be less than our current rent. We did it, I whisper, pulling up the household budget I've meticulously crafted. The color-coded spreadsheet shows how we'll live comfortably while continuing to build our savings. No more electricity shutoffs. No more counting pennies for groceries. My phone buzzes with an incoming call. Jessica's name flashes on the screen. I hesitate before answering. Maya, I've been thinking about you so much lately. Jessica's voice carries that familiar false brightness. I always supported your relationship with Logan, you know. I was just concerned about your finances. I catch Logan's eye as he raises an eyebrow. We've been expecting this. How thoughtful of you, I say, keeping my tone neutral. Mark and I have been talking, and we'd love to have dinner sometime. Catch up properly. A pause. Actually, I wanted to discuss something with you. Mark's starting his own practice, and we're looking at investment options. I remembered you mentioning Logan's new position, and I thought perhaps you might consider a small loan to family, just to help with initial office expenses. I nearly laugh aloud. I'll have to check our budget, Jessica. We just bought a house. Her sharp intake of breath tells me everything. A house? Where? A lovely townhouse in Newark. 2 bedrooms, maple floors. We put down 40%. The silence stretches before Jessica recovers. Well, that's unexpected. Does Dad know? He will now, I imagine. Sure enough, Dad calls that evening after seeing our social media post about the house. Well, she did learn something from me after all. I overhear him tell Mom when she picks up the extension. Business sense runs in the family. I hang up without responding, only to find my former photography professor has shared an article featuring my exhibit on working-class dignity. The piece specifically mentions how my background influenced my perspective on labor and value, with no mention of my father's academic credentials. When Logan suggests inviting my parents to our housewarming, I find myself torn. Would opening our door to them mean opening ourselves to more manipulation, or would it show them we had moved beyond needing their approval? Before I can decide, our doorbell rings. Frank and his wife Caroline stand on our porch, arms filled with handmade curtains patterned with delicate vines. Thought your windows could use some dressing, Frank says, his weathered face crinkling with genuine pleasure. Caroline's been sewing these since you mentioned the house. They spend the afternoon teaching us how to prepare soil for the small garden plot behind our kitchen. Frank's hands, calloused from decades of welding, gently demonstrate how deep to plant tomato seedlings. The following weekend, Mrs. Bennett arrives with 3 gallery owners who admire my work displayed throughout our home. These photographs tell stories that need telling. One says, handing me his card, "Call me when you're ready for a showing." Logan's co-workers arrive in shifts over the next month, helping us renovate our outdated kitchen. When I try to calculate what we owe them, Mike Logan's supervisor waves away my checkbook. "You're family now," he says simply. Our neighbors welcome us with a block party, asking genuine questions about our backgrounds without the evaluating stares I grew accustomed to from Jessica's friends. Mrs. Garcia from next door brings homemade empanadas and stories about raising her own children in this neighborhood. The contrast strikes me as I watch Logan laughing with our neighbors. My parents and Jessica only valued status markers, degrees from prestigious universities, connections with influential people, addresses in the right neighborhoods. Our new support system celebrates who we actually are. The revelation comes on a Tuesday morning. An email alert from the university newspaper. Professor Parker placed on unpaid leave amid harassment investigation. The accusations span years and involve multiple students. That evening, the phone rings again. Mom's number. "Your father's situation is being blown completely out of proportion," she says without greeting. And now Jessica says several of her friends have stopped returning her calls. I make a non-committal sound, folding laundry with the phone pressed between my ear and shoulder. "I was just wondering," she continues, her voice overly casual, "what position exactly does Logan hold at Coastal? The receptionist wouldn't give me any information when I called." The folded shirt slips from my hands. "You called Logan's company?" "We're just concerned about your financial situation," Mom says, her voice hardening, "given everything that's happening." I hang up the phone, staring at our modest living room with its secondhand furniture and handmade curtains. For the first time in my life, I feel truly wealthy. A week later, we made a deal to meet. I spot them the moment I step out of the elevator. Dad's hunched shoulders in his wrinkled Brooks Brothers suit, Mom clutching her Hermes scarf like it might protect her from the industrial modernism of my workplace. They look so out of place amid the exposed brick and open floor plan of Crawford Design Agency. Maya. Mom spots me, her voice pitched unnaturally high. Her practiced smile doesn't reach her eyes. Darling, we've been waiting. Your receptionist is absolutely charming. The receptionist, Tara, shoots me a warning look over their shoulders. I nod slightly, acknowledging her silent message. These people are trouble. This is unexpected. I don't move toward them, don't offer hugs or cheek kisses. I have meetings all afternoon. Dad clears his throat, tugging at his collar. We need to speak with you urgently. Family business. The slight tremor in his hand doesn't escape my notice. Dad's hands never shake, they hold scalpels, sign dismissals, point accusingly. They don't tremble. Follow me. I lead them past the creative department where my photography hangs prominently on the wall. Mom's eyes linger on a black and white portrait of Logan, bent over his welding torch, his concentration illuminated by sparks. The conference room offers the illusion of privacy with its glass walls. Everyone can see us, but no one can hear. I choose this room deliberately. 15 minutes, I say, gesturing to the chairs across the table. I remain standing. Dad doesn't sit. The university has finally asked for my resignation after all the trouble. The words hang in the air between us. Mom sinks into a chair, her knuckles white around her purse. There are lawsuits, she whispers. 3 students. The board thinks... She stops when Dad shoots her a look. The allegations are exaggerated, Dad says firmly. But the damage is done. Mom finds her voice again. We're selling the house. Mark's parents have withdrawn their financial support for Jessica's charity foundation. And you're here because? I ask, though I already know. Dad straightens his shoulders, attempting to reclaim the authoritative posture that once made me shrink. Family stands together during difficult times, Maya. This is a temporary setback, but we need liquid assets to secure proper legal representation. We thought, Mom adds, her voice softening with practiced vulnerability, given your tame situation, you might help us through this rough patch. My situation, I repeat flatly. I walk to my desk and return with a manila folder. The weight of it in my hands feels almost ceremonial. I slide it across the table and watch Dad flip it open. What is this? He asks, frowning at the first page. Every email, text, and voicemail where you dismissed my choices. I tap the folder. Page 4 has the message where you said I was no longer welcome home unless I broke up with Logan. Page 12 has Mom's text comparing my photography exhibition to Jessica's charity auction, suggesting I focus on real work instead of playing with cameras. I flip to another section. Here's where you cut off my housing allowance. And here, I point to a highlighted paragraph, is where you told Aunt Margaret that I was going through a concerning phase and might need professional intervention. The conference room door opens. Logan walks in carrying 3 coffee cups on a tray. He's wearing charcoal slacks and a navy button-down with the sleeves rolled up, revealing just the edge of his tattooed forearm. His wedding ring catches the light. Sorry I'm late. He sets the tray down and extends his hand to my father, Logan Reyes, Maya's husband. Mom's coffee cup clatters against its saucer. Husband? We got married 6 months ago, I say. Small ceremony, just people who support us. You didn't tell us, Mom whispers. You didn't earn the right to know, I reply. The words come out calmer than I feel. Dad's face darkens. This is exactly the kind of impulsive behavior You taught me that family supports each other unconditionally, I interrupt. Unfortunately, you only applied that lesson to Jessica. I reach into my bag and pull out a business card, sliding it across the table. Dad picks it up, his expression souring when he reads Oakwood Gardens Apartments. You can't possibly expect us to live in a place like... It's what I could afford when you cut me off, I say, cutting him off. The difference is, I earned my way out. Mom reaches for my hand. I pull back before she can touch me. After everything we've done for you, she begins, her voice quavering. Yes, I nod. You showed me exactly what I didn't want to become. That was invaluable. Dad's face reddens. Now you listen here. His voice rises sharply. I press the intercom button on the conference phone. Tara, could you please have security come to conference room B? Dad stands abruptly, his chair screeching against the floor. You would have security remove your own parents? After everything we've sacrificed for you? I maintain eye contact. no longer intimidated by his height or his volume. "What exactly did you sacrifice, Dad? Your ethics? Your integrity? Because from where I stand, you sacrificed nothing for me. You invested in the daughter you thought would bring you the most return." Logan moves to stand in the doorway, arms crossed. His presence is calm but unmistakably protective. Through the glass walls, I see 2 security guards approaching. "You need our help more than we need yours," I say quietly. "That must be terrifying for you." Mom gathers her purse, tears streaming down her face. "Richard, please, let's go." Dad stares at me, seeing me clearly perhaps for the first time. "This isn't over." "Actually, it island." I walk to the door Logan is holding open. "You can see yourselves out, or security can assist you. Your choice." I watch them leave, shoulders bent under the weight of consequences they never expected to bear. That evening, my phone buzzes with a voicemail from Jessica. Her voice breaks as she begs me to reconsider, to remember we're family no matter what. 3 days later, an envelope arrives with no return address. Inside are my childhood photographs and art projects, drawings from elementary school, a photo of me at 12 holding my first camera, teenage self-portraits. A single note in Mom's handwriting reads, "I didn't know how to value these properly. Perhaps you will." I run my finger over the faded edge of a sunflower drawing, wondering what this offering means, a genuine acknowledgement, or simply another manipulation. The answer, I realize, matters less than I once thought it would. The morning light spills across our dining room table, now transformed into a makeshift photography studio where 3 neighborhood kids huddle over vintage cameras. 2 years have passed since I walked away from my family's suffocating expectations, and our home breathes with a life I never imagined possible. "Miss Maya, is this one working?" 11-year-old Danny holds up a Polaroid from the 1972nd, her fingers careful on the worn plastic. "Let's see." I take it from her, my business card for Parker Photography tucked into my back pocket. The operations coordinator title at Logan's expanding welding company pays our bills, but these weekend classes feed my soul. Our walls showcase mismatched furniture we chose for comfort rather than appearance. Logan's leather recliner beside my grandmother's antique reading lamp, yard sale finds mingling with carefully saved for pieces. Nothing matches and everything belongs, much like the young artists I mentor from working-class backgrounds. My phone chimes with an email notification, Columbia University Alumni Association. I scan it quickly, then read it again more slowly. "Everything okay?" Logan asks, entering with coffee. His work boots are left by the door, replaced with worn slippers. "They want to feature my veteran series in next month's exhibition." My voice sounds steadier than I feel. "Back on campus." Logan's eyes meet mine. "You're going, right?" 3 days later, I stand in Columbia's polished gallery hall, Logan's hand warm against the small of my back. The crowd flows around us, crystal glasses tinkling. 2 years ago, I would have hunched my shoulders, felt the invisible weight of my family's judgment. Tonight, I stand straight, meeting familiar eyes without flinching. "Maya Parker." Professor Williams approaches, silk scarf draped artfully over her shoulders. "Your composition is extraordinary. Tell me about your rather unusual career path since graduation." In another life, I would have apologized, offered excuses. Instead, I smile. My background gave me unique perspective. I document authentic moments in communities typically overlooked by traditional galleries. I gesture toward my centerpiece, a black and white portrait of Frank teaching welding to inner-city teenagers. Success looks different depending on who's measuring. "I heard about your sister," a former classmate murmurs, leaning close. "Jessica's divorce and your father's legal troubles. Such a shame." I simply nod. "Would you excuse me? I see someone I need to speak with." Later that week, our modest backyard fills with laughter. Frank and his wife Martha argue good-naturedly about proper grilling technique, while Mrs. Bennett discusses composition with our next-door neighbor. These people, our chosen family, gathered to celebrate Logan's company securing a major contract. "To building what matters," Logan says, raising his glass. Our friends lift theirs in response, unaware of our second reason for celebration. "And to new beginnings," I add, my hand resting briefly on my still flat stomach. The nursery takes shape gradually. Logan insists on painting it himself, the pale yellow warming the eastern wall where morning light will first touch our child. I hang photographs while he works a family wall that tells our story, Frank teaching Logan underwater welding techniques, Mrs. Bennett at my first gallery showing. Our neighbors gathered around last summer's backyard barbecue, Logan's parents smiling from their Arizona retirement community. In a small silver frame, I placed the childhood drawing my mother returned a crayon sketch of a little girl with a camera, the only piece of my past I chose to preserve. My fingers linger on the empty space beside it. Do you think they'll ever meet our baby? I ask when Logan joins me, his arms circling my waist from behind. That's up to you, he says, his voice gentle against my hair. But our child will know what real support looks like. I lean against him, studying our collection of memories. I've been wondering something lately. I whisper. Does true forgiveness mean allowing toxic family back into your life, or simply finding peace with your decision to walk away? Logan's hand covers mine, warm and certain. What would you tell one of your students? I turn in his arms, considering the walls we've built not to keep people out, but to create a space where love grows without conditions. I'd tell them some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. I rest my head against his chest, and some walls protect what matters most.